Next video.
Sorry, this is hilarious. All right, next
Okay,
project.
okay. Welcome back. This is Games with Ruben, part number 3. We're looking at his library. Show us what your third game is you want to share with us and what you learned from it. As I've learned a lot. Just learned about shaders. Learned about how to make an enemy character follow you. That's cute. That doesn't kill you in any way, and you just shoot it to death. And now we're on to game number 3.
Yeah, we're not doing these consecutively or anything.
No. Well, we gotta section them by game. Unless you want to talk more about the shading thing. Is there anything else you want to share about the shading and using layers?
Well, okay. So as I told you, I'll try to make at least one functional game a week, partially. Most of these, one of the things I need to say. So I've made this Daemon versus Demon game some time ago, and it got a good result at a game jam. And we decided to try and make a commercial version. Me and my partner in crime, Josep, and he made the music for this game, and he's now actually making the code for a commercial version. So a lot of these things that I'm showing you today have to do with the commercial version of this game. It's basically me trying different concepts or different strategies for either visuals or gameplay for the commercial version of this thing.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. So that's what all these little tests, these prototypes you're doing are for, to make a better Daemon versus Demon game. That's a clever title. I just got that, Daemon versus Demon. Oh, sorry. Anyway.
Yeah, well, okay, so I'm also having a lot of fun, and that's actually the number one purpose. But it's true that there are many things that you can do in these games, and what better way to try them than to make small mini games that implement these things. Like this Crossing the Sinai is one of them. It's a pretty obvious one. Escape is another one. Even Daisy Dangerous had one. All of these have something, especially this one. This one has the snow environment, the moving enemies. So in the original version of Daemon versus Demon, the way that I've made the enemies, they was very heavy, very computationally heavy. So these are much lighter than the original ones. So I was testing it to see how many cats can I put until the computer starts to slow down.
Okay, I gotta pause right there because there's a thing about advice and developers and commercial projects. So the default, again, this stuff changes all the time, but the default that a lot of the the more senior developers or people with more developer experience, they tell all the newcomers that they should do a bunch of mini games first, and then figure out what their big grandiose project is, which is good advice because most people come up with I want to make an MMORPG by themselves commercially, which is totally insane. I was one of those people. I still am, but it's a bad idea for a lot of reasons. But what you're doing is interesting because what you have done is you have made a main project, and now you're doing all these little mini prototyping games to make a better main project. You know what I mean? That's like a completely different strategy than a lot of people follow, if that makes any sense. I'm just pointing that out if you haven't thought about that at all.
Not really. I mean, I'm just having fun. But I realize that so many of these things I don't know how to do. And so I have to learn, and I can't learn to do things by doing a massive project. I have to learn by doing small projects and eventually combining all that knowledge into something bigger and better.
Well, no, but I'm saying you're doing it at the same time. Versus the traditional advice is make a bunch of mini games first. Take 2 or 3 years to make a bunch of mini games. You're using all this stuff that you're prototyping right now can go to your main game that you've started, the Daemon versus Demon. You see what I'm saying? That's brilliant.
Daemon versus Demon is still, it's still a very, very early project. The only thing that we really have is what we made for the GitHub Game Jam. So it's still, the thing is that project was already big enough to show us very clearly what we want to do. The thing is, how can we make it better, faster, have more enemies? All the problems that we had on that project, now we're trying to sort them out.
And you're doing these mini games to sort that stuff out, or to help sort it out, because your partner's doing most of the programming. No, that's not what I'm saying. That's I don't want to destroy this for you. If you just think you're just having fun, awesome. But you have like a different way to become a better developer.
The let's see, this one. Yeah, this one I ended up not making. So this was a project that I made for a game jam on itch, which is called the Dog Pit Game Jam. It took place last week for a period of 10 days, and I couldn't join because it overlapped with Ludum Dare, and I couldn't join Ludum Dare anyways.
Right.
So I started like halfway, and I had absolutely no ideas. But the Dog Pit Game Jam is really interesting, and it's a bit different from the usual itch.io game jams in the sense that it has judges. So it's not based on the developers voting on on the other developers' games. It has a panel of judges, and they will judge your game. It was actually the first. So the first jam that I ever took place in my first game, I made it for their jam, which took place last year. A little more than a year ago, and that was my first game, and they broke it down completely, and I really enjoyed it. I learned more than I ever learned on any game jam, and I was trying to do the same thing this year. Unfortunately, I couldn't finish it, but this was a more of a test concept, so I can just run the project, So it's really not finished at all. And it's basically about this little girl who needs to go to school.
Oh, cool.
And she has like 30 seconds to go to school. So the game is about you controlling the little girl and going to school. So it's typical Japanese school. So all the students have the same uniform. So the only difference between her and the other guys is she has this red
scarf. Yeah,
red scarf. So as the second day comes along, you're again late for school. And you're running to school, but you run into this lady, and that she's selling apples, and you really want an apple, so you go talk to her. So I tried not to use text in this one. I tried to use
just symbols.
Just
That's
symbols.
Really cool.
And you ask for the apple, and she wants some coin for it, and then you have to go and find a coin, and you have to do all of these things before it's time to go to school. So you give her the coin, get the apple, you have the apple, and go to school again.
So this is like a Dido game, right?
What's a Dido?
Oh, it's this thing where you have like a certain time limit. Usually you end up dying, but then the next time you play, there's something different that you do.
Oh, well, you can say that. So yeah, I mean, every day that you go through, you have to do something to sort that out. So in this case, you had to wake up this guy. He wants some coffee. Then you go to this guy who has a coin. You ask for money. He asks for apple, which you got the last turn. You give him the apple, get the coin, come to the shop, give him get the coffee, get to the guy, and that was it. And then he follows you. And this is the idea of and this is what I was talking about when I said a couple of videos ago about having an NPC following you and using the steering mechanism. So I use that here.
So what's the issue here? I mean, I see he's a little farther behind, but
yeah, that's the problem. So he doesn't really follows you. He just chases you around. But because of the limitations of the steering, oh wait, I'm late. If you're late, the guard chases you and you lose the game. So so that's the thing. So the principle of this game is to try and do this thing. So in every day you have a different thing to do. So now she tells you that the guy has her book or something, or the way that I found to represent that was not very efficient. But anyways,
okay. So
you have to.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh, one quick question. Did you make all the art for this?
Yes, of course.
And you can't draw.
You kick the guy, take the book, run away, go back. Yeah, but I used stupid tricks to make things look better than they really are. You give the girl a book, and she's happy, and you're good to go to school. So that really would be the idea with this game, is to have this process happening over and over again, and you do more and more stuff, and it gets more and more complex.
This is so cool.
Every day. Like on the last day, the guy is chasing you because you kicked him and stole the book. Now he wants to get you, and you have to run away. To go to school. This is the last level that I made, and he's really fast, so you have to.
So why is this not a finished game?
Oh, because this is it. This is the final level. There's nothing else.
Oh, you don't have day 10? You have to have 10 days in the jam.
There's no 10 days. It's just actually the theme of the Game Jam was workshop. So the idea is that you build something. So this game you would start building something, and eventually one of the characters, I was going to introduce. I have the sprites for him and the art for him as well. I was going to introduce a guy that has a red scarf as well, and he's the one who saves the girl from the evil bully. So
cool.
he eventually would come in, save her, and they would do some more stuff together. But I didn't finish it. So I had some stuff coming up, and I couldn't.
No. I understand. So here's just off the bat. I'm just trying to think about this. Like, you have the days are going through. It's 6 days so far. How many days were you trying to plan for total then?
Well, the idea with this, the idea is I didn't have any plans at all for how many days. Basically, because this is a game jam, my plan was to do as many days as I possibly could. But it had to be a consistent story, and like this is still not a consistent story, and it's buggy as hell. So because I'm playing it, you're not seeing any of the bugs that actually come up.
Right. Versus the export.
But I can assure you there are quite a few.
And to match the theme, you're building relationships, correct?
Right. So these images, I actually took some pictures from from Japanese shops, and so eventually you would have to enter here, get stuff inside the shops. To be able to build more stuff to be able to progress through the game.
To get better relationships, correct?
Yes, sort of. Increase your, let's say, your popularity or etc. So I don't know. It was just a construct for a game, but it never really became a game. So.
And I just want to go over some just game design stuff. So if I were to then, eventually those shops would open, it would just load another scene. That would be a shop, correct?
Well, my idea was to keep this scene, but yeah, I mean, I can show you the way that I've built the level. I see. Like,
if I'm thinking, like, with what you're telling me, then if I were to like have it on one scene and I go to a shop, it would just like open like a mini panel, like from a comic book, and then that would. I mean, that's one way you could do it. You know what I mean? Then you have like a shop and a mini panel in the scene itself. But anyway, what were you going to do to solve that? Like, how were you going to?
No, I wasn't going to do much. So these doors would open, and then you see the character through the window.
Well, that's nifty.
It's a game jam. I have to limit the amount of stuff that I make. So yeah, that would be it. So you just see the character through the window.
That's still pretty cool, though. That is really cool. That's like really clever. So then everything would like have a window or some visibility that they would have in their shop or whatnot. That's kind of cool.
Yes, this is sort of a ramen shop here. This would be a, I don't know, omiyage shop or whatever. And same thing with this guy. So this is a cheap way of making her go into the coffee shop.
How much people watching did you do in Japan for this? Or is this you just picked up by watching people over a series of years? Like, yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, you know, like, so like you're like in Japan, and like how much watching do you like take notes of how these things could, you know what I mean? Like, do you were you thinking about, like, did you have this knowledge in the back of your head how people in Japan interact and work and maneuver before you built this, or did you go out and, I got a game jam, and start like looking at people and looking at the environment around? Does that make sense?
I've lived here for a few years, so it's
somewhere between that.
Well, these are the shops that I took inspiration from.
Oh, beautiful! And wait, hold on. Do you own these images?
I do not own these.
Oh, okay. Oh God. Okay, that's a strike. Luckily, they don't find us.
I completely forgot about it. I do not own these images, but I own these ones.
Yes. Yes. Good. That's good.
So, like, this house is in front of mine. This is the view from my window right now. So,
oh, beautiful. That's really cool.
This tree is based on a picture I took.
And so what are the I get what the collisions are for the people. What are the collisions like on the, like right in front of the tree? What's that collision for?
That's an environment collision. So that's ground. That's just an obstacle. So
no, that's ground. But what's in front? I mean, like on the right of the tree. On the right of the tree, I guess it's the best way.
Right of the tree?
Yeah, like there's like a big collision that's like going from the top to the bottom.
This one?
No. Keep going. Keep going forward. Like somewhere here. What collision is that?
That's the river. You can't jump in the river.
No. There's something between there's something between the river and the.
Oh, okay. This is level 3. So this is just an area 2D that's here to detect when you come here to see. Okay, that you acknowledge that there are apples here. These apples.
I've done a similar thing, but in Construct. I get what you're doing. You're doing it for like events and stuff. It's like just like an event trigger. Perfect.
Exactly. So not on the first level. But okay, so the first level there's really nothing to interact with, but on the second level, that big collision that you saw there is just a trigger to make her show this.
Okay, cool. That's really cool.
So if you go with the first time actually that you cross that, it will show you that she wants an apple. It won't show you again. That's it.
And do you need to hit that in order to interact with the old woman? I even consider she's old. I don't know if she's old. To buy an apple?
I put it in a way that you can't do one without the other. So if you see, to interact with a woman, you have to cross that collision.
Right. Okay.
That sorts that problem out.
Okay, going back to NPCs. So I get the way you did that NPC. Another way I was thinking of doing NPCs was somehow like having them like kind of like a string together. So like having like maybe some type of object that's invisible that would have like an image point or some type of reference point, and the moment they start to follow, they'd be tagged on that person. Have you ever thought about something like that?
Not really. I mean, I never really worried about having an NPC. I never had to do it yet, so I didn't really sort it out. But what I imagined it could be is I just have an array, a very large array, where I keep the positions of the player at all times updated. So the NPC just follows the positions of that array a few steps behind. I would imagine something like that.
Okay, that's another way to solve it. Cause like, so for me, like I was thinking of like I had something where it's kind of like an invisible boat. I don't know if that's overcomplicated, and you have like a max of like 3 or 4 characters, kind of like an old Nintendo game. You know, like
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about,
one of
right?
those old yes, perfectly. Those old JRPGs with the following characters. I really don't know how to do that. There must be a way that's very efficient. I just never really had to come to that problem until this game, until I had that scene when the guy just stalks you around.
Well, now here's the thing about the boat in that type of thing is that if you had a boat now, instead of being limited to like an up, down, left, right, that a lot of the Nintendo games kind of see, you know, there weren't a lot of diagonals with those characters following you. Mm-hmm. If you had this boat, this invisible boat, then it's like you could have diagonal follow it. It would be easy. You know what I mean? Like it'd be like, you're gonna hate me for this, but like a tank, and all the people that are in the tank are like moving along.
You should definitely. Are you going to call this videos the tank series?
I should. How to apply tanks? Okay, tanks are everywhere. You can think the tanks. Okay, all right, this is good. Anything else you want to show us about this project? Because we're hitting the close to that 20-minute mark again.
Well, okay, so this is one of the problems that I had here, and I couldn't sort it out very efficiently, is the dialogue system. So this is really, really bad. So I still couldn't. So I was very interested on checking out that project, the Renpy that you mentioned, as a means to organize dialogues and interactions between elements of the game.
Well, so that thank you. That's so the thing that project is, it's really working on a visual novel. So our issue, like, so what that means is there's usually a fixed text box, and then when the characters would then bump into each other, then that fixed text box will pop up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you feel that's a good solution for this, I like the fact that you do have images pop up. So I guess like that, to me that's like a different system. You get what I mean? Like you're not really doing real dialogues. You're doing like icons of dialogues.
I wanted to eliminate text completely from this game, but I couldn't get rid of the school. I didn't have any time to figure out some way of making a school. I wanted to make it a language independent game.
Well, there's if you ever want a shortcut, but the only thing is you can't really charge for stuff. There's a thing called the Noun Project. Have you ever heard of the Noun Project? So the Noun Project is they wanted to create a whole lot of icons that could be used for anything, and that's why they call it the Noun Project. So what you could do, the only thing is they're vector based, but you could probably take one of the vector ones, convert it to pixel, And there you go. And then you could have that as, it's like a big sign for a school with literally like a silhouette of a school or something like that. I mean, that could be one way. So I don't know. Like,
I don't know, but what does the silhouette of a school look like?
Well, that would then be up to the player to figure out what this, because your sign's going to go a direction.
Did you see? Now you understand why I just decided to write school here.
Sorry.
That was another reason why I couldn't do it as well as I could in this game. So I had to drop the game jam. But I still have the project, and I might come back to it later in the future.
So do you want to add actual dialogue, or I know how this could use to Renpy, but it would be a fixed system though. Well, maybe it doesn't have to be fixed, but you could have the iconography, but it would just pop up in like the bottom of the screen, like it would be text.
What I need is not exactly a dialogue system. I don't need a box to write text or to put images on. What I need is something different. What I need is not a box to write text. I need an actual dialogue system. A dialogue system, and what I mean by that is a system that arranges events in a certain sequence. So if I talk to the lady and I already have an apple, my dialogue will be, or the symbol that it shows will be different. The behavior of the characters will be different if I already have an apple or if I don't have an apple. Do you understand?
I get. So what, couldn't you do it like kind of like an inventory system then? Or like a player dictionary?
It's a bit like that. So what I do here in this game is I have the what is it? Where is it? It's got to be somewhere around here. There we go. This is a singleton, and I have a game state variable here.
I see.
And one of the elements is the events box here. And it's just an array, and I just write stuff into this array. Whenever she does something, whenever the main character does something relevant in the game, I'll just write stuff. I'll just say, okay, talk to lady, or chase guy. And then I'll make a search and see whenever I have to repeat that interaction, I'll just make a search in this array, make sure that event is not there before starting it again.
I get it now. That's why you want to look at the Ren project, because it's pretty much all based on singletons.
The idea is how can I organize a bunch of events in an efficient way to run a game like this, a game which is driven by stuff that the player does.
Right.
Which relates execute to the story, to execute a full story, and so the dialogue itself, having a box where I write stuff, that's not what I need. What I need is to tell a story. Or a mechanism that allows me to tell a story depending on what you've done in the past and what you have to do in the future.
I'm going to tell you that I would pay money for this game. I mean, this looks beautiful. Like, everything you've done looks beautiful. This has actually inspired me in a lot of ways, whether I was thinking of the animation. Because you have like a full world here, potentially.
No, I just have this block. Come on, seriously?
Look, man, you gotta... maybe my problem is my imagination. You have a small block, but you potentially have a full world. You know what I mean?
Well, you can do a lot of stuff in this game, yes, for sure. And, this is a bit like when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I used to live like 30 seconds away from school, about this distance from school. And, I would leave my parents' house, go to school, and stuff would happen. I would run into my friends, or run into the shops, or into stuff that would make me be late for school. And usually get in trouble. So this is sort of my youth here, and it was always very annoying and very eventful. So once you go into school, your life is gone, it's done. You're basically sitting in a class, it's boring. But until you get there, then that's when all the stuff happens. Usually getting into fights or playing football.
And one more question: you two wanted to live in imaginary Japan, where everything was cooler and fun when you were a child.
Well, okay, so tricks to make this look better than it actually is. Let's see, the particles, for example. All the trees have these small particle effects.
They're cherry blossoms, right?
Cherry blossoms.
Okay.
It's a beautiful feature in Japan. I mean, these trees are gorgeous because they have the pink flowers, the bright pink flowers, and they have also a very dark trunk. and
Right,
branches,
right.
which the contrast makes it really aesthetically very pleasing. What I couldn't do, for example, in this game, I forgot to make, is that whenever you draw a tree like this, you have to put some petals. You have to draw some petals in the ground as well. So I didn't have any time to draw the petals in the ground, which would, it gives more dimension to this tree. It makes it look like it's actually on the ground instead of floating.
Okay, well, hold that thought for 1 sec. Coming back to the other game that you showed, this is what I mean. You could do like 20 or 50 of these variants, and then you could randomly generate them, and they would look like different trees.
But
Do you know what I mean? Like the tops.
Yes. That's what I done here. Well, I did 2.
Okay, I could tell. There's only 2. I thought. Okay.
And I do 2 variants, and then I flip them horizontally, so they look slightly different. So this one is the same as this one flipped, and this was the same.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So that's a neat trick, and these the petals flying, the particles flying gives it a mood and a very nice mood, and then it extends all the way so that even when you start the level for the first time, you're already seeing the petals, even though you're not seeing the tree. You're barely seeing the tree. So that's an important detail. So it makes you I hope it makes the player want to explore a little bit and find out what's going on here. But then everyone else starts moving. This is the first level. Everyone starts moving, and you feel sort of encouraged to follow them. To go to
the school, which is like a mini tutorial. That's beautiful design. So go ahead.
Go ahead.
On the trees, are the no, they're not spawning. Is there anything spawning from the trees itself? Like, are there leaves spawning from the trees?
These pink petals.
Yes.
You mean? Yes, that's particles.
Okay. So that's how you apply the particle.
Let me open a tree for you to take a look. I gotta be open editor. Okay, so this is a tree. And it's basically a sprite. That's all. It has a static body inside, and the static body is only used to have this collision here, so the player can't cross the tree. It needs to go around the tree, and it has a particle generator that generates these nice little petals. No code.
Oh, okay, perfect. And so then all the petals in the scene that we saw, they're all just particles being emitted from the trees then, right?
Yep.
Okay, see, I originally thought you had a layer and there were just like moving particles on that layer, but they're actually emitting from the trees. That's a lot of particles. Okay, I got it.
Not really. Well, so it's 40 particles per tree. Yeah, it's quite a lot. This one has a lot more petals. But they move very slowly, and they're not doing much. They're just moving around randomly.
Okay. And if that's the case, how come when you start the scene, there's like a lot of petals already? Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. So one of the parameters of the particles is the pre-process time. This number here. So the fact that the particles are moving slowly is just because time is running real time. If you put here 60 pre-process, that means that it will run this particle for 60 seconds instantaneously before placing this scene in the project.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So you have petals immediately because when you start the game, each one of these trees has already processed 60 seconds of particles. Therefore, you will already have particles everywhere in your scenario.
Wow, that is so cool.
What else? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this. Anything other special that I've done here? No, not really. Yeah, the difficulty is this really takes a lot of effort takes more effort than I would like to spend to be able to organize all the events and all the things that can happen. So I need to look at engines, using engines for adventure games, like click and point adventure games, which have the same problem, and they must have sorted out this somehow. I just don't know.
Well, if you ever have a little extra time, you can always help us with the Ren project. Because that's one of the examples we're trying to do is a point and click as well. I mean, I love Jeremi and I love what he started. And no, there's a lot of other contributors, but it's always a time sink. Everyone's just doing it when they have like extra time. So like something could be changed the next day and from someone who hasn't been there for like a couple of months. So
yeah. Okay. Shall we finish with this one, or should I proceed immediately to the next project?
Well, we gotta do the break. So this last one was like 40 minutes, I think. That's like max the YouTube attention span.
That's well beyond YouTube.
Oh, we're gonna end this video and we're gonna get to the next part, which I think is part 4, coming up right now. All right, I guess you can like and subscribe because I'm gonna be putting a bunch of these. Oh, and I keep forgetting. If you, this is gonna be in the description of all of them. If you have any questions about anything you see, please put the question down below. And also, if you can put a timestamp, that would even make it better, so then that we can reference exactly where that is. And then when Ruben has more extra time at some point in the future, maybe we can get some answers. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. Moving to the next video. Okay.